Everybody found the square numbers? Okay. All right, so either side of the room, the square numbers are listed. Okay. And we've talked a little bit about this, and we've probably done a little pieces of this, but we want to make sure you know how to do this. These are really important skills for trig. Those of us that are juniors also have to take the SBAC in a few short months. Okay. And we want to make sure you're ready for it. And you have to have some of these Algebra 1 skills to do that. Okay. And one of the topics we're going to be covering in the rest of this unit is actually on roots. Okay, so that's part of why we're doing this as well. All right, so I do this by using my square numbers. And you know that those lists are up there the entire time. So I'm going to be looking for something that is in this center column. Those are the square numbers. Okay. And I am going to try to put the biggest one in my first square root. So I'm going to break this into 2 square roots. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go and I'm going to try to find the biggest square number, and I'm going to put it in the first box. I'll call that the can-do box. I can take the square root of it. Okay. And then I'm going to put all my leftovers here. Okay. I'm only allowed to use numbers that are on that list. Okay, so I'm going to go down the list. All right, I'm going to look at 4. Does 4 divide 18 nicely without decimal points? No, I'm seeing heads shaking. No, right? Okay, so I'm gonna move on. Does 9 divide 18 nicely without decimals? Yes. How many times? Twice. Am I going to get anything bigger than that? No. This here is typically something that's not divisible by a square. If a square doesn't divide that, you know you've got the biggest number you can. Okay? All right, what's the square root of 9? 3, and I'm going to drop down the square root of 2. Remember, once you've done this operation, you drop the square root symbol. Okay, so the square root symbol goes away once I've done that. Okay, and that's my answer right there. Okay? All right, we're going to do it again. Okay, together, and I'm going to have you try a couple on your own. Okay? All right, so I'm going to do my can and my can't do box. I'm looking down the list. If you need a calculator to do the basics, like we're talking like basic 4-function calculator, right? Not the one with the square root symbol on it. Okay? All right, so I'm going down the list. Does 4 divide 72 nicely? No, right? Okay. What about 9? How many times does 9 divide it? 8. Remember, the goal with this method is to try to find the biggest square number. Can I still divide 8 by a square number? Yeah, so I don't have the biggest one yet, right? So I'm going to keep going down my list. And if I have to, I'm punching the buttons into my calculator, and that's okay. All right. Does 16 divide 72? I'm going to go get my Desmos, right? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go 72 divided by 16. And it's okay to look. Does it divide it nicely? No. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. What's the next number on my list? 25. Does 25 divide nicely? No. Okay. All right. What's my next number? You have to, and you guys, you should be able to. We're second semester of Algebra 2 with trig. You should know where the square numbers are and what they are. Okay, and start being able to recognize that a number is a square. Okay, this is not the first time you've seen them. Okay, my 6th grader's seen square numbers. Okay, so if he's seen them, you've seen them. All right. Did that one work? Yeah, that one was good. Is it going to be our biggest one? Yeah, once I've got a 2, I'm definitely in my biggest in the biggest spot. Okay, so what's the square root of 36? And you can use the sign as a hint, right? Because you just look to the left, and that's the square root of it, right? So square root of 36 is 6, no square root symbol, and then drop the square root of 2. Just leave it alone. Okay? All right. I want you to try 24 and 75. So everybody's trying square root of 24 and square root of 75 right now. Use your list. If you need to use Desmos as a calculator, use it. Okay? I'll give you like a minute and a half. Okay. I want you to double check it with your new table partner or somebody at your table. Okay. Have a quick conversation. Okay, let's talk about it. So I'm going through my squares list. Remember, only square numbers. That's all I'm allowed to use. So I'm going to go down my list. What's the first square number I look at on my list? 4. We skip 1, right? That's why I've crossed 1 out of that list. All right, so what is the... So if I put 4, does 4 go in there nicely? 4 divides 24 how many times? Is that going to be my biggest one? Am I going to get anything bigger than 4? No, I can't, right? 6 isn't divisible by another square number, so we know that we're done. What's the square root of 4? 2 square root of 6. And the nice thing about this particular method is it gets it to 2 lines. Some of the problems that we're going to get longer, right? We know that that's the nature of algebra. So instead of doing like a factor tree, you're trying to make it longer. We try to do this the shortest way possible. Okay? All right, let's go down the list. Does 4 divide 75? No. What about 16? 25. How many times? 3. If I'm being really nice, I use something that's divisible by 25, right? All right, so what's the square root of 25? 5 square root of 3. And remember, once you take that square root, the symbol goes away, okay? And it's proper to write it with the number without the symbol times the one number with the symbol, okay? All right, now we're going to take this. That was like the 6th grade math version of this, okay? Now we're going to take it to the Algebra 1 level where we now have variables under there, okay? In order to take the square root of a variable, you have to divide the exponent by 2. So we're going to divide the exponent by 2, okay? All right, so I'm looking for the biggest even number that I can pull out. All right, so I'm going to still do my same concept. Can and can't do box. What can I take the square root of? What can't I take the square root of? Okay. All right, what's the biggest square number that divides 12? 4. I heard 6. Is 6 on our list over there? No, you has to be on the list, right? All right, so 4, how many times? 3. Good. All right, now I'm going to pull out even exponents. Okay, the biggest even exponent I can pull out. So I'm going to get x. What's the biggest even number I can pull out here? 4. Do I have anything for the leftover box? No. Okay. On y cubed, what's the biggest even number I can pull out? 2. What would be left over? Y, because I need 3 y's, right? So there's 2 y's that go here and 1 y that goes there. On an even, the biggest exponent you're going to have back here is a 1, right? Okay, now let's actually take the square root. What's the square root of 4? 2, good. And I'm going to divide these exponents by 2. Okay, so when I take the square root of x to the 4th, I get x what? Squared, good, because I divide the 4 by 2. Okay, all right, when I just take the square root of y squared, what do I get? Y, good. And then this back piece we've already taken care of, just write it down, square root of 3y. Okay, we're going to do another one together. Okay. All right. Can and can't do box. All right, I'm going to go down my list, right? I'm looking at my number first. So what's this? We're looking for the biggest square number that divides 27. So does 4 divide 27 nicely? No. Move on, right? Does 9 divide 27 nicely? How many times? Is that the biggest? Yeah, we're not going to get any bigger than that, right? Okay. Now, again, I'm pulling out the biggest even number, right? The biggest even that I can get. So I have x to the 5th. What am I going to pull out? X to the 4th would be my biggest even number, right? Or multiple of 2. Okay. What would be in my leftover box? Just an x, right? Because this and this have to add up to 5. Okay. All right. Y to the 7th. What's the biggest even number I'm going to get to pull out? Good. What's in my leftover box? Y. And again, with square roots, the leftover box's exponents should both be 1s. Okay. If I have anything in the leftover box, and it's possible I don't. Okay. All right. We're going to take the square root of just this first box. What's the square root of 9? Good. What are we supposed to divide these exponents by?
2.
So dividing by 2. Okay, so we get, when I take the square root of x to the 4th, you're going to tell me it's x what? Good. The square root of y to the 6th is what? Y to the 3rd. So you have to get used to the fact that I'm going to say square root of y to the 6th, and the process you have to do is divide by 2. Okay? It's the proper way to say it. All right, and then we're going to do square root of 3xy. Okay? All right, I've got 2 more there. I want you to try those 2 while I'm passing out note pages, okay? So everybody's going to try 7 and 8 on your own right now. I know that's kind of more than 5 minutes on that today, but we're doing a good foundation today.
So I guess we're going to remove this. No, we did that.
What's wrong?
How do you get
What happened? Did I do something wrong? No. How do I get 3? You have to divide it by 2. What's 6 divided by 2?
What is dividing that she's subtracting?
No. You're mixing up when it's on the top of the bottom. I gotta write it down. I'll explain it. That's a really good question. Okay. You're gonna divide the number by 2. Okay. But you're right. We did work on that already.
Yeah. Okay, let's check these really quickly together, and I need to clear up some confusion, okay? So, Johnny had a really good question, okay? So, but I want to make sure we understand, because we did talk about exponents in first semester, okay? So, Johnny asked me, why isn't, we're dividing by 2, right? He said, why isn't the answer y to the 4th? Do you see how this is the bases are the same? So when we're dividing with the bases the same, that's where we subtract the exponents, okay? This is taking a square root, not this. Oops, I just erased it, okay? I don't know what was there. So it's not that concept, okay? So the rule for exponents when we're taking a square root is, so you divide the exponent by 2 to take a square root. Does that make sense, Johnny? Do you see the difference? Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's take and look at this one here. Okay. So let's look at the numbers first. Biggest square number that goes into 125. What'd you guys get? What was it? 25 and 5. Perfect. Okay. X for the even ones. What's the biggest even number you pull out? Nothing left over. Okay. What about for the Y's? 4th, what was left over? Y. Good. All right. What's the square root of 25? 5. The square root of x to the 6th. X to the 3rd. What did you divide by? 2, right? Okay. What's the square root of y to the 4th? Good. Divide by 2 again, right? And then square root of 5y at the back. All right. Let's take a look at this last one. Biggest square number that divides 40. Okay, I heard 20 and 2. Is 20 on our list over there? No, so I can't use that one. What's on the list? 4 and 10. Is 4 the biggest one? I don't think there's anything bigger. I like it. Okay. On my x cubed, sorry, I was trying to zoom and it's not zooming. What is the biggest even number I can pull out? Good. What's left over? Just x. Okay. And then on the y's, what's the biggest even number? 8 can't, I'm going to leave it, right? Nothing else in the leftovers. All right. Square root of 4. Good. What am I supposed to do with the exponents? Divide by 2. Okay, that's the rule to take a square root. So what's the square root of x squared? Good. What's the square root of y to the 8th? Y to the 4th, square root of 10x. Okay? I know it's a little bit longer than we usually use on skills check, but it's worth it because we need to make sure we got that concept down. Okay? All right. I want you to switch over to notes. I just handed out the rest of Unit 5 note pages. Okay? And we only have one more unit beyond that of Algebra 2. Okay? And then we're done with Algebra 2 and we're going to move on to trig. Okay? All right. So I'm going to put up and I will shoot the thing out to your computers. I know that. Okay? All right. So write those two things down for me. I will shoot the thing out. And